My name is Rachel Morrison, and tonight, sitting at the dining table in the house my grandmother left me, my sister just announced she's pregnant with my fiance's baby. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was when Madison, the sister I'd sheltered for 29 years, looked me straight in the eye, smiled, and said those words I'll never forget. "You should move out of the master bedroom. The baby and I need more space. This is my house now." What Madison didn't know, this Victorian estate, with its acre of heritage gardens, original 1887 gazebo, and hand-carved woodwork worth a small fortune, is valued at $2.3 million, and every brick, every inch of soil belongs to me, only me. Colin, the man I was supposed to marry, believed we owned this place together. He was wrong, completely wrong. But before I tell you about the night I destroyed their illusions with a single sentence, let me take you back to where it all began. How does a 29-year-old woman plan in meticulous detail, step by calculated step, to dismantle her sister's entire life? I found the answer in a pink leather journal, 47 pages documenting exactly how to steal Rachel Morrison's perfect existence. I remember the dress like yesterday, sapphire blue with French lace trim, $340, money I'd earned working 6 months at the bakery. Every shift started at 5 a.m., flour dust coating my hair, hands raw from kneading dough until my knuckles bled. I kept that dress in my closet with a note taped inside, "For prom, do not touch." Madison found it 1 week before my dance. She wore it to her friend's party, returned it drenched in red wine, a stain that never came out no matter how many times I tried. When I cried, Mom said what she always said, "Rachel, honey, you're the older sister. You have to share." Madison just wanted to feel beautiful once. That was the first time I learned the rule that governed our family. Madison's needs always outweighed my pain. The Victorian house at 847 Maple Street was built in 1887 by my great-great-grandfather, a German immigrant carpenter who carved every door frame, every staircase baluster by hand. Grandma Eleanor used to tell me, while we sat on the wraparound porch, sweet tea sweating in our glasses, this house holds 137 years of Morrison family history. Not everyone deserves to inherit it. From age 13, I escaped there every weekend. Grandpa William taught me to identify real oak grain, how to restore antique furniture without destroying its integrity. Grandma Eleanor showed me how to cultivate 23 varieties of heritage roses in the garden, each bloom carrying its own story passed down through generations. When Grandpa developed Alzheimer's at 74, I was 20. I took a semester off college to care for him full-time, fed him when his hands shook too badly to hold a spoon, bathed him when he could no longer manage alone, read to him every evening from his favorite Steinbeck novels, even after he stopped recognizing my face. Madison visited 4 times during his 3-year decline. Each visit lasted under an hour. Each one happened when she needed money. Attorney Harold Bennett's office, March 2019. Mahogany desk polished to a mirror shine, leather chairs that creaked when I shifted my weight. He cleared his throat, adjusted his reading glasses, and began. "We, William and Eleanor Morrison, leave our estate as follows. To Rachel Morrison, the property located at 847 Maple Street, including 1.2 acres of land, all antique furnishings, the hand-carved woodwork collection appraised at $180,000, and a maintenance fund of $50,000. This bequest recognizes Rachel's unwavering care, unconditional love, and deep understanding of the Morrison family legacy." He paused, looking up at me over his glasses before continuing. "To Madison Morrison and Robert and Patricia Morrison, the remaining financial assets to be divided equally, approximately $240,000 total." Dad spoke first, his voice tight. "That's not fair to Madison. You should sell the house. Split the proceeds." I heard myself say it before I'd fully decided. The first time in my life I'd told my father no and meant it. "I won't sell. I'll buy out your share of the inheritance." I borrowed $80,000 from the bank to purchase their portion. From that moment, the house belonged 100% to me. Deed, mortgage, property taxes, every document carried only my name. Rachel Elizabeth Morrison, no one else. The wedding was in September 3 years ago. Colin Hayes stood beside me as a groomsman, tall and slightly awkward in his rented tuxedo. We bonded over our shared embarrassment at the choreographed dance the wedding party had to perform, some complicated routine involving jazz hands that neither of us could master. 34 years old, architect specializing in historic preservation. When he first saw the house, he walked the perimeter slowly, one hand trailing along the exterior siding, eyes cataloging every detail. Victorian Queen Anne 1887, original turret intact, red oak from Oregon old-growth forests. This is a masterpiece. We spent 3 years renovating together. Colin designed the restoration plans. I executed them using the skills Grandpa taught me. We rebuilt the gazebo, repainted the exterior in period-accurate forest green, refinished the hardwood floors room by room. Colin moved in during our second year together. I never added his name to any documents, kept telling myself we'd handle that after the wedding, no rush, but he started referring to it as our house almost immediately. The possessive pronoun should have bothered me more than it did. 6 months ago, Colin proposed in the gazebo under fairy lights he'd strung himself. The diamond ring caught the soft glow, 1.5 carats that I later discovered cost him $12,000 he didn't have. He'd taken out a personal loan. Kneeling on one knee, rain starting to mist around us, he looked up with tears in his eyes. "Build a family with me in this house, Rachel, just like your grandparents did." I said yes without hesitation. Biggest mistake of my life. But the real nightmare didn't start with Colin. It started with a sobbing phone call from Madison on a cold July night when rain hammered against my bedroom windows. 11:47 p.m. Tuesday. Thunder rolling across the sky. My phone vibrated on the nightstand. Madison's name lit up the screen. Her voice came through broken, desperate. "Rachel, please, I don't know what to do. Tyler kicked me out. I don't have money for rent. They're evicting me from the apartment next week. Where am I supposed to go?" Sobs punctuated every sentence. Colin stirred beside me, propped himself on one elbow, whispered into the dark. "Family matters more than anything. We have plenty of space." The next morning, before Madison arrived with her belongings, I called her back, kept my voice firm, measured. "You can stay 2 months, not a day longer. Ground rules. 1, actively job hunt, minimum 5 applications per week. 2, share household chores according to a schedule we'll create. 3, respect privacy, especially the master bedroom. 4, no drama with Colin. 5, end of month 2, you're gone." Madison's voice turned soft, compliant. "Yes, of course, I promise. I'll be the perfect house guest." She arrived the following afternoon in Tyler's truck, the ex-boyfriend helping her unload boxes with a sullen expression. I cleared the guest room, made space in the hall closet, set fresh towels in the bathroom. As Tyler's truck pulled away, Madison stood in the foyer, taking in the crown molding, the original chandelier, the sweeping staircase. Something flickered across her face, too quick to name, but it settled in my stomach like lead. Day 3. I came home after 10 hours at the office analyzing portfolio restructuring for a demanding client. The living room, my sanctuary with its Victorian settee inherited from Grandma Eleanor, had transformed into Madison's territory. Clothes draped over furniture, magazines scattered across the coffee table, makeup palettes lined up on the mantel where family photos used to stand. My favorite reading chair, the Queen Anne with burgundy upholstery I'd painstakingly restored, sat shoved into a corner. In its place, Madison's pink velvet chaise lounge commanded center stage. When I walked in, she looked up from painting her nails, smiled brightly. "I rearranged things a little. Creates better energy flow, don't you think? Much more welcoming." My cream cashmere sweater disappeared 5 days later. Sarah had given it to me for my 30th birthday. $280 she couldn't really afford but insisted on spending anyway. I'd worn it twice, dry cleaned it once, kept it wrapped in tissue paper. 1 week after it vanished, the sweater reappeared in the laundry hamper, stretched 2 sizes too large, reeking of Chanel No. 5. I wore Dior's J'adore, a slash of deep red lipstick smeared across the collar. Madison shrugged when I confronted her, not even looking up from her phone. Oh, weird. Maybe you wore it and forgot? You've been working so much, stress makes people forgetful. Week 2, Friday night. I dragged myself home at 10:30 after a client meeting that ran 3 hours past schedule. The house sat dark except for golden light spilling from the living room windows. I eased the front door open quietly, exhausted to my bones, froze in the entryway. Colin and Madison sat on the sofa, 6 inches between them, maybe less. The bottle of Chateau Margaux, 2015, on the coffee table was half empty. $450. I had been saving it for our anniversary next month. Madison's laugh rang high and clear, the flirtatious tone she used with men she wanted. You really understand architecture in a way most people don't. I had no idea the gazebo required such specific wood. Colin grinned, his hand resting on the sofa back behind her shoulders. Cedar holds up best against moisture, resists rot for decades if maintained properly. When I stepped into the room, they both jerked upright like teenagers caught breaking curfew. Colin stood too quickly, smoothed his shirt. You're home early, meeting end ahead of schedule. I kept my voice level, neutral. 10:30 isn't early for normal working hours. I see you found the Margaux. Madison's eyes went wide, one hand flying to her mouth. Oh my God, Rachel, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were saving it. I'll buy another bottle. You can't afford a $450 wine. You're unemployed. Silence stretched between us like pulled taffy. Colin filled it quickly. I'll replace it. My fault. I should have checked with you first. I stared at him until he looked away. You knew. I told you at our 3-year anniversary we'd drink it together. That night, Colin tried to convince me I was overreacting. Madison was going through a hard time, needed support, not suspicion. How could I think either of them would do anything inappropriate? His indignation should have reassured me. Instead, it made me feel crazy, like my instincts couldn't be trusted, like reasonable boundaries were actually paranoid jealousy. Week 3, Wednesday afternoon. I came home early with a migraine that made the world pulse and tilt. Found Madison sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open in front of her. She slammed it shut the second she heard my keys in the lock. Laptop issues resolved? My voice came out sharper than intended. Oh, still updating Windows. Taking forever. I just needed to check email real quick. An hour later, after swallowing ibuprofen and lying in the dark, I opened my laptop. Browser history. Deleted. But Google's search bar still displayed autofill suggestions from her queries. How to know if he'll leave her for you. Signs he loves you more than his girlfriend. Ways to make him jealous of his partner. Getting pregnant to keep a man. Property rights when not married. A chill crawled up my spine and settled at the base of my skull. This wasn't idle curiosity. This was research. Madison was researching how to destroy my relationship from the inside out. Week 4, Sunday morning. I woke at 7, padded downstairs in my robe to make coffee. Madison was already in the kitchen, wearing my old Stanford t-shirt, no bra, no pants, just underwear. She stood at the stove making eggs. Colin sat at the table, eyes locked on her, not looking away even when I entered the room. When he noticed me, he flinched, suddenly fascinated by his phone screen. Madison turned, spatula in hand, smiled like we were old friends sharing breakfast. Morning, I'm making frittata. Colin mentioned it's his favorite. I had never told Madison about the frittata, but Colin and I made it together every Sunday morning, a 2-year tradition, just ours. Week 5, Friday evening. I discovered Madison in the master bedroom, direct violation of Rule 3. She stood before my closet, holding my mother's Vera Wang wedding dress against her body. $4,200 of silk and lace, left to me with explicit instructions to wear it when I married. Madison twirled slowly in front of the mirror, the dress swishing around her legs. My voice came out like a knife scraping bone. What are you doing in here? She dropped the dress, stumbled backward. Rachel, it's so beautiful. You'll look stunning in it. Get out of my room right now. Week 6. Every framed photograph of Colin and me on the fireplace mantel had been pushed to the back row, half hidden behind newer additions. In their place, Madison. Selfies of her smiling in the red AO dye Grandma Eleanor had given me for my college graduation. Madison posed in front of the gardens, wearing my gardening hat. Madison, Madison, Madison. When I asked about it, she blinked innocently. I was dusting, must have set them back in the wrong spots. Sorry. Tuesday evening, week 7. I was taking out the recycling to the bins behind the house. The kitchen window stood open to catch the breeze. Madison's voice floated out. She had no idea I was outside, no idea I could hear every word. Jasmine, you won't believe how perfectly this is working. I stopped moving, held my breath. Rachel works until 9 or 10 every single night. I have entire evenings alone with Colin. Madison's laugh cut through the humid air, sharp and cold. Not sleeping together yet, but close. So close, he started confiding in me about problems with Rachel. She's too focused on her career, doesn't have time for him anymore. I just listen, cook meals he likes, touch his hand when we talk. It's almost too easy. She suspects something, yeah, but every time she questions anything, Colin defends me, tells her she's being too sensitive, jealous for no reason. Pause. I could picture Madison examining her nails, that satisfied smirk she got when winning. And the best part? She has no idea how far it's already gone. Next week when she's on that Seattle business trip, that's when I make my move. Another pause longer this time. I feel a tiny bit guilty, sure, but honestly, Rachel has always had everything. Perfect job, $90,000 a year. This incredible house worth $2 million. Handsome fiance. Meanwhile, what did I get? Mom and Dad gave me $80,000 from Grandma and Grandpa's estate. Rachel got the entire house. Not fair, right? I'm just taking back what should have been mine all along. I stood frozen in the dark, garbage bag forgotten in my hand. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. This wasn't an accident, not a drunken mistake. This was a plan, methodical, calculated, designed from day one to strip away everything I'd built. I didn't confront her. Not then. Not when rage made my hands shake and my vision blur at the edges. Confronting her without proof would lead nowhere. She'd deny everything. Colin would take her side. I'd look paranoid and controlling. I needed evidence, undeniable, irrefutable evidence of how deep the betrayal ran. The next morning, I met Sarah at our usual coffee shop. Morning light streamed through the windows, hitting her face as I told her everything I'd overheard. Sarah's coffee cup hit the saucer with a sharp clink. She's hunting your life. You need to kick her out today. Not yet. I need to know if Colin's complicit. I need to see if they've already crossed that line. Sarah gripped my hand across the table. Are you sure you want to know? Sometimes not knowing is better than the truth. I need to know. I can't build a future on foundation made of doubt. Thursday afternoon, my supervisor called me into her office. The company needed someone in Seattle for a critical client presentation Friday through Sunday, 3 days. I volunteered immediately. When I told Colin and Madison that evening, Madison's eyes lit up. Just for a second, quick enough that someone not watching closely would miss it entirely. Friday morning before my supposed flight, I looked Colin straight in the eye. You'll be home all weekend, right? Yeah, big project deadline. I'll be working from here most of the time. I nodded, kissed his cheek, felt nothing. But I didn't go to Seattle. Sarah booked me a room at the Courtyard Marriott 15 minutes from the house. I checked into my Seattle flight on Facebook, posted an old photo from the airport. Disabled location services, turned off Find My iPhone. Friday night, 8:15. I parked 2 blocks from home, approached through the back alley using my emergency key to slip in through the garden gate. 9:15. I crept close enough to see through the windows. The dining room table was set for 2. White linen tablecloth from Grandma Eleanor's hope chest. Crystal wine glasses catching candlelight, a vase of red roses from my garden, blooms I'd cultivated for 3 years. Colin and Madison sat across from each other. The wine bottle between them was Chateau Lafite Rothschild 2010, $650. Colin had bought it for my birthday, but we'd never opened it. I crouched in the shadows of the hallway, pulse thundering in my ears. Madison's voice drifted soft and deliberate. Thank you for being here this week. I've been so lonely. Tyler abandoned me. Rachel's always busy. You're the only one who really sees me. Colin's response came quieter. Rachel doesn't mean to neglect things. Work demands a lot from her. Madison reached across the table, her fingers covering his. But she's neglecting you. I see how lonely you are too, Colin. I see the way you look at me. Colin didn't pull his hand away, didn't create distance, Madison, we shouldn't. She moved her chair closer. Shouldn't what? Feel something? Connect? You can't deny what's between us. I watched Colin stand up, thought for one desperate second he'd walk away. Instead, he stepped onto the back porch. Madison followed a minute later with fresh drinks. Their voices became murmurs I couldn't parse. 11:20 they came back inside. Madison stumbled, deliberately or genuinely drunk, impossible to tell. Colin caught her. They stood too close, her hands on his chest, his arms around her waist. You're drunk, Madison whispered, fingers tracing his collar. Me too. Colin didn't push her away, didn't step back. Then they were kissing. My world fractured into 1,000 jagged pieces. I wanted to scream, to storm inside and tear them apart, but my body refused to obey, locked in place like my muscles had forgotten their purpose. Colin led Madison up the stairs, to the master bedroom, my bed. I left through the garden gate, drove back to the hotel on autopilot, vision swimming. 5 a.m., Saturday morning. I hadn't slept. Opened my laptop, checked the joint account Colin and I used for household expenses. August 15th, Colin transferred to Madison $1,500. Memo, emergency rent. August 28th, Colin transferred to Madison $2,000. Memo, medical bills. September 10th, Colin transferred to Madison $1,800. Memo, utilities. September 25th, Colin transferred to Madison $2,200. Detallitos, no memo. Total, $7,500 in 6 weeks. He wasn't just sleeping with her, he was funding her. While she pretended to be unemployed, while she mooched off my home and my food and my generosity, Colin was bankrolling her expenses. They didn't just have an affair, they had a financial partnership. Sunday, 11 a.m. Colin posted to Instagram, Sunday brunch with good company. Photo of Madison laughing over mimosas, sunlight making her hair glow gold. While they brunched, I returned to the house, let myself in quietly, went straight to Madison's room, the room I'd cleaned and prepared and offered out of misplaced family loyalty. The pink leather journal sat in her underwear drawer, buried under folded clothes. Soft cover, floral pattern embossed in gold. 47 pages of careful handwriting in Madison's slanting script. Page 1, July 18th. Moved into Rachel's house today. It's more beautiful than the photos suggested. Victorian architecture, sprawling gardens, antique furniture everywhere. Rachel says it's worth $2.3 million. All of it belongs to her. Colin Hayes, her fiancé, is 6'1", dark hair, blue eyes, architect, handsome in that refined way. More importantly, he believes he co-owns this house. He's wrong. Why does one person get everything? Page 5, July 25th. Week 1 success. Rachel works 10 to 11 hours daily. I have entire evenings with Colin. Strategy. Become the woman Rachel can't be because she's too busy. Cook well. He loves Italian. Dress suggestively but casually. No bra, thin shirts. Listen to him. Rachel's always too tired to talk. Page 12, August 8th. Found Colin's weakness. He feels abandoned. Rachel's too focused on climbing the corporate ladder. Client dinners 3 times a week, weekend overtime. Today, Colin said, sometimes I feel like Rachel loves her job more than me. I put my hand on his, told him I understood that feeling, being someone's afterthought. He didn't pull away. Page 18, August 20th. The plan, Phase 1. Build emotional connection. Check. Phase 2, create distance between Colin and Rachel. Check. Phase 3, escalate physical intimacy. In progress. Phase 4, drunken accident when Rachel travels, waiting for opportunity. Phase 5, get pregnant. Seal the deal. Phase 6, demand the house. Colin will side with me because of the baby. Page 24, September 1st. Rachel's going to Seattle next week. This is it. Shopping list. Macallan 18-year whiskey. Colin's favorite, $280. Black cutout dress, $120. New birth control pills. We'll stop taking them after that night. Vanilla candles for ambiance. Condoms. We'll deliberately forget to use them in the moment. Every detail calculated. Page 28, September 6th. It happened. Colin drank more than I expected, 4 shots of whiskey plus a full bottle of wine. He barely resisted. Said we shouldn't, but his body said yes. In Rachel's master bedroom, in her bed, with her fiancé. It felt better than I imagined. Not just the sex, the victory. Rachel thinks she's better than me. Smarter, more deserving. Wrong. Now I have something she can never take back. Her fiancé inside my arms instead of hers. Page 35, September 20th. Pregnancy test positive. Perfect timing. Colin panicked when I told him. Asked if I'd consider not keeping it. Laughable. Why would I abandon my strategy now? I cried. Fake tears. Real effect. Told him I couldn't kill our child. He held me. Said we'd figure it out together. Together. He said together. Page 42, October 5th. Next phase, claim the house. Plan, announce pregnancy at family dinner with Rachel's parents present. They'll pressure her. Demand the master bedroom because the baby needs space. If Rachel refuses, play the family card. Parents will force her to accommodate. If that fails, threaten to cut off contact with their grandchild. Final goal, Colin and Rachel break up. Colin and I marry, house becomes ours. Colin thinks so anyway. After marriage, divorce Colin, take half the assets. 2.3 million house means I get 1.15 million. Perfect. Page 47, October 15th, final entry. Tonight's the announcement. Parents are coming to dinner. I'll wear the pale pink dress. Innocent, vulnerable. Light makeup, voice shaking when I say I'm pregnant with Colin's baby. Rachel will be shocked. Colin ashamed. Parents will blame Rachel. She worked too much, ignored her fiancé, drove him to infidelity. Game over, Rachel Morrison. Your perfect life is about to become mine. My hands trembled holding those pages. I photographed every single one, backup files saved in 3 locations. This wasn't love, wasn't a drunken mistake. This was a military campaign. 47 pages detailing every move in a war to obliterate my life and steal my inheritance. Madison didn't just want Colin. She wanted the house. She wanted my existence. And I was going to make absolutely certain she got nothing. Monday morning, 9 a.m., Harold Bennett's law office smelled like leather and old books. He read through the journal slowly, shaking his head, removing his glasses to rub the bridge of his nose. When he finished, he looked up. Rachel, this is among the most calculated manipulation I've encountered in 30 years of practice, but fortunately you have absolute legal advantage. He pulled out property documents, spread them across his desk. The house is 100% yours. Title deed, ownership records, mortgage, everything carries only your name. Colin is technically a tenant at will. No written lease, no ownership stake. His financial contributions to utilities and groceries don't create property rights. Madison is an invited guest. No tenancy, no rights whatsoever. You can ask them both to leave immediately. Don't I need to give 30 days notice? Harold considered. Technically no, since there's no formal lease, but I'd recommend 30 days to avoid potential wrongful eviction claims. It's reasonable, legally defensible, impossible to contest. He drafted 2 notices, one for Colin Hayes, one for Madison Morrison. Formal, legal, unambiguous, 30 days to vacate the premises. Also prepared cease and desist orders in case they harass me afterward. Restraining order templates if they tried to return. Tuesday evening, Sarah helped me secure everything valuable. Grandma Eleanor's jewelry collection, approximately $45,000 worth of vintage pieces, went into a bank safety deposit box. I scanned every property document, every deed, every insurance policy, created a detailed inventory of Madison's room with photographs of every item, insurance against her claiming I'd stolen from her, changed all my passwords, email, banking, social media, changed the lock on the master bedroom temporarily. Sarah found something else while helping me organize, an email from Colin to Madison sent 3 weeks ago. Subject line. Blank. Body, tonight was incredible. I know we said it wouldn't happen again, but I can't stop thinking about you. Rachel's working late all week. Thursday night, maybe we could Colin hadn't just been weak once. He'd been planning second encounters, third, fourth. This wasn't a mistake. This was a pattern. The man I'd loved for 3 years was a stranger. I'd never known him at all. Thursday evening, I met with Dr. Kimberly Hayes, a therapist specializing in betrayal trauma. Emergency session. I need strength to do this without falling apart. She leaned forward, voice gentle but firm. You're already stronger than you realize. Choosing to gather evidence instead of confronting immediately, that's strategic thinking under extreme stress. That's power. But remember, after they leave, the real grief will hit. Let yourself feel it. That's human. Thursday night, hotel room. I sat on the bed holding my engagement ring, watching the diamond catch light from the bedside lamp. Remembered the proposal. Colin on one knee, tears in his eyes. You're the only person I want to grow old with. Promises turned out cheaper than I'd ever imagined. I removed the ring, placed it in the velvet box, closed the lid with a soft click. Tomorrow, I would reclaim my life. Friday morning, 6 a.m. I showered methodically, letting scalding water wash away the hotel's stale air. Applied foundation with precision, each stroke erasing the sleepless shadows under my eyes. Mascara lengthened my lashes into sharp points. Burgundy lipstick, the shade I wore for closing major deals. The Armani suit I'd bought after my last promotion hung crisp and black against the bathroom door. $800 of tailored wool that made me look like exactly what I was, a woman who knew her worth. Straight leg trousers, 3-inch heels, hair swept into a flawless bun. Grandma Eleanor's pearl earrings caught the light. In the mirror, I saw the strongest version of myself looking back. My briefcase held everything I needed. Madison's journal, both original and copies. Bank statements showing Colin's transfers. Property deed with my name alone. 2 formal eviction notices Harold had prepared. The property valuation documenting $2.3 million of inheritance that belonged to nobody but me. 7:30. I drove home through streets still quiet with early weekend stillness, unlocked my front door, my house, my key, my threshold, and stepped inside. Colin and Madison sat at the kitchen table eating pancakes. The domestic scene would have been almost touching if I didn't know what I knew. Madison wore pink silk, my pajama set, $180 from the boutique downtown. Colin sat in his usual spot, coffee mug steaming. They both jumped when they heard me. Colin stood so fast his chair scraped against hardwood. Rachel, you're back? I thought Seattle was through Sunday. I didn't answer. Set my briefcase on the table with a deliberate thud. Pulled out a chair. Sat down with my spine straight, shoulders back. We need to talk, both of you. Sit. Madison's eyes darted between Colin and me, uncertainty flickering across her practiced smile. Are you sick? Why did you come home early? My voice came out cold, surgical. I never went to Seattle. I stayed 15 minutes from here all weekend, and I came home Friday night. The silence that followed felt like falling through ice into black water. Colin's face drained of color. Madison went completely still. I installed security cameras last week. Living room, second floor, hallway. No cameras existed, but they didn't know that. Colin's hands started trembling. Madison's breathing quickened, chest rising and falling too fast. Colin found his voice first, words tumbling out desperate. Rachel, I can explain. You don't have permission to speak yet. I opened the briefcase, withdrew the pink leather journal, placed it on the table between us like evidence at trial. Madison saw it, and what little color remained in her cheeks evaporated. Where did you get, that's private. Nothing in my house is private. I opened to page 24. Read aloud in a voice that could have cut glass. Phase 4, drunken accident when Rachel travels for business. Phase 5, get pregnant, seal the deal. Phase 6, demand the house. Colin will side with me because of the baby. Colin grabbed the journal, hands shaking so badly the pages rustled. His eyes scanned the text, widening with each line. What the, Madison, you planned this from the beginning? Madison's tears started immediately, the same manipulation she'd used our entire lives. No, that's not, it's just a journal. I write things when I'm upset. It doesn't mean. I turned to page 47. Game over, Rachel Morrison. Your perfect life is about to become mine. The words hung in the air like smoke from a gun. Next, I spread the bank statements across the table in a neat row. Colin Hayes transfers to Madison Morrison, August 15th, $1,500, August 28th, 2000, September 10th, 1800, September 25th, 2200. Total, $7,500 in 6 weeks. Colin stared at the numbers like they were written in a language he'd forgotten he spoke. You didn't just sleep with my sister once. You funded her, planned with her. This wasn't weakness. This was conspiracy. Colin collapsed into his chair. I didn't know about the journal. I swear I didn't know she was... Didn't know or didn't want to know. Because from where I'm sitting, you sent emails planning your next encounter. You transferred money to help her stay here longer. You are either complicit or so easily manipulated it amounts to the same thing. I pulled out my phone, opened the email I'd saved. Subject line blank, body, tonight was incredible. I know we said it wouldn't happen again, but I can't stop thinking about you. Rachel works late all week. Thursday night, maybe we could... That's not a one-time mistake. That's premeditation. Madison tried her crying strategy again, voice breaking on every word. Rachel, please, I'm so sorry. I just felt like you always had everything. I was jealous. I didn't think clearly. You thought very clearly. 47 pages of clear thinking, calculated down to which whiskey to buy and when to stop taking birth control. That's not emotion, that's execution. I picked up my phone again, dialed my parents, put it on speaker before anyone could object. Mom answered on the second ring, voice bright with weekend cheer. Rachel, honey, what's wrong? You never call this early. Mom, I need you and Dad to hear something. I read selected passages from the journal. The timeline of seduction, the pregnancy scheme, the plan to steal my house. Every manipulative detail Madison had documented with such pride. Silence stretched across the phone line like a chasm opening. Finally, Dad's voice came through, rough and disbelieving. Madison, did you really do this? Madison grabbed for the phone. Daddy, no, it's not like that. Rachel's misunderstanding. I pulled the phone back. Mom, Dad, for 32 years, I gave Madison everything she wanted. Toys, clothes, attention, money. This time, I'm not giving her anything. Mom's voice shook. What are you planning to do? What I should have done years ago. I spread the property documents across the table like a winning poker hand. This is the title deed for 847 Maple Street. Sole owner Rachel Morrison. Current valuation $2.3 million. Colin looked up sharply, realization dawning too late. But we've lived here together for 2 years. I've put money into... You paid rent and utilities, not the mortgage, not property taxes, not the $70,000 roof replacement last year. You own nothing. Madison's mask finally cracked, desperation replacing performance. You can't just... I'm pregnant. You'd throw your own sister... You got pregnant after orchestrating a months-long plan to seduce my fiancé and steal my inheritance. Don't you dare play victim. From my briefcase, I withdrew 2 manila envelopes, placed them in front of Colin and Madison with the finality of a judge's gavel. These are legal notices to vacate. 30 days from today, you're both gone. Madison's voice climbed to a shriek. You can't kick me out. I'm carrying your niece or nephew. You're heartless. You're pregnant after planning to trap my fiancé. The baby is innocent. You are not. Colin reached for my hand across the table. I pulled away like he'd burned me. Rachel, 3 years together. We were going to get married. You can't throw away everything. I'm not throwing anything away. You did that when you slept with Madison. In my bed. In my house. I opened the velvet box I'd brought from the hotel. The engagement ring sat nestled in cream silk, diamond catching morning sunlight streaming through the window. I promised to marry a man who was loyal, who respected me, who loved me. You're not that man. Pushed the box across the table until it rested in front of Colin's coffee mug. Through the phone speaker, Mom was crying, Rachel, please don't do this. Think about family. I am thinking about family. I've thought about family my entire life. Every time I gave Madison my things because she cried until I did. Every time I stayed quiet when you blame me for her choices. Every time I made myself smaller so she could take up more space. My voice didn't waver, didn't break. Real family doesn't ask you to sacrifice your dignity. If you can't respect my decision, then we need distance. Dad cleared his throat. You're threatening to cut us off? I'm protecting myself from people who hurt me. If you choose not to honor that, the distance is your choice, not mine. I ended the call before they could respond. Madison switched tactics one final time from tears to fury. "You'll regret this. You'll never see your niece. The whole family will hate you." I stood, collected my documents, snapped my briefcase closed. If my family hates me for refusing to be abused, they aren't family worth having. Turned to face them both with the full weight of my resolve. 30 days. After that, if you're still here, I'll use legal force. My attorney has restraining orders ready. Walked out of the kitchen, spine straight, head high, climbed the stairs to the master bedroom. Closed the door. Only then did I let myself sink onto the bed, briefcase falling from numb fingers. The adrenaline that had carried me through confrontation drained away, leaving exhaustion so complete I could barely breathe. But underneath the exhaustion lived something new, something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom. The first week crawled by like walking through deep snow. Colin found a studio apartment across town, $1,800 a month for 600 square feet. A massive downgrade from the Victorian mansion he'd convinced himself he owned. Tuesday evening, moving day for Colin. He packed boxes in silence while I watched from the hallway, arms crossed. Each item he removed felt like reclaiming stolen territory. At the door, he paused, turned back. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know I really did love you. I was just weak, stupid, and I lost the best woman I'll ever know. You didn't lose me because you were weak. You lost me because you chose betrayal. Multiple times, with intention." He left without another word. The door closed behind him with a soft click that echoed through suddenly quiet rooms. First time in 3 years, I'd been alone in my own house. The silence felt massive, cathedral-like. By week 2, the phone calls started. Aunt Susan, voice sharp with judgment. "You can't be this harsh with your own sister." Uncle James, "Family forgives, that's what we do." Distant cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, all suddenly concerned about my lack of compassion. I sent one text to the entire extended family. "Respect my decision or we stop talking. Your choice." Blocked half of them within the hour. Sarah came over that Thursday with Thai takeout and a bottle of good wine. We sat in the garden while late afternoon sun turned everything golden. "How are you really doing?" "Some days I'm fine. Some days I want to burn everything they touched. Today's somewhere in between." She refilled my wine glass. "That sounds healthy, actually. You're allowed to feel everything." Week 3. Madison still hadn't packed, hadn't searched for apartments, was testing whether I'd actually follow through. Harold sent a final legal notice. Vacate within 48 hours or face forcible removal. Sunday morning, day 30, a moving truck appeared. Madison loaded boxes with jerky, angry movements. I watched from the second floor window. Sarah stood beside me, keeping inventory. She's taking things that aren't hers. I spotted Grandma Eleanor's crystal vase, $800. The vintage linen tablecloth, $300. Sterling silver flatware set, $1,200. Sarah reached for her phone. "Call the police. That's theft." I put my hand over hers. "Let her take them. Objects aren't worth extending this nightmare. I got the house back. The rest is just noise." Madison loaded the last box, slammed the truck door, didn't look back at the house even once. When the truck disappeared around the corner, I finally exhaled fully. Hadn't realized I'd been holding my breath for a month. The house felt different, lighter, like a weight I hadn't known I was carrying had finally lifted. Sarah hugged me as tears started falling, not sad tears exactly, more like release. "You did it. You actually did it." Why does winning feel so much like losing? Because you're mourning what you thought you had, the relationship you believed in, the sister you wanted, the family that should have protected you. That's not weakness, that's grief. We spent that afternoon doing what Sarah called a cleansing ritual. Opened every window, let fresh air sweep through rooms that had felt contaminated, burned sage in corners, more for the symbolism than any real belief, stripped the master bedroom bed, washed everything in the hottest water the machine allowed, changed the furniture arrangement so the room didn't look like it had when Colin lived there, moved the bed to the opposite wall, replaced navy blue bedding with soft gray that reminded me of early morning fog. The following weekend, I repainted. The room that had been earmarked for a nursery in our imaginary future became my home office. Soft sage green walls, built-in bookshelves, a desk positioned to catch morning light. Every brushstroke felt like reclamation. Monday morning, I called Dr. Kimberly Hayes for a regular appointment, this time, not emergency. Her office smelled like lavender and had windows overlooking a small garden. "How are you managing?" "Better than I expected, worse than I'd like." She smiled slightly. "That's honest. Tell me about the worst parts." I keep replaying moments, looking for where I missed the signs. The first time Madison touched Colin's hand, the way he started working late more often, how they'd stop talking when I entered rooms, all these tiny red flags I explained away because I wanted to believe the best of people I loved. Dr. Hayes leaned forward. "You weren't naive. You were loyal. Those are different things. The problem wasn't your trust. It was their betrayal." "Then why do I feel stupid?" "Because society teaches women to blame themselves when people hurt them, but you weren't responsible for their choices. Madison planned this campaign for months. Colin made repeated decisions to participate. Neither of those facts reflects anything about your worth or intelligence." She paused, let the words settle. "You're not mourning just a relationship. You're mourning a family system that failed you long before this crisis. Madison didn't suddenly become manipulative. Your parents didn't suddenly start enabling her. These patterns existed your entire life. This was just the most extreme example. The truth of it hit like cold water. So what do I do with that?" "You decide what kind of relationship, if any, you want with them moving forward, not what they expect, not what family obligation demands, what serves your well-being." I started journaling again that night, tracking emotions, triggers, progress. Some days, entire pages about rage. Other days, surprising moments of peace. Once, a full entry about how good it felt to drink coffee in the morning without wondering who I'd find in my kitchen. 3 months after the confrontation, work became a sanctuary. The portfolio restructuring project I'd been managing paid off spectacularly. Client retention increased 40%, saved them $3.7 million in projected losses. My supervisor, Janet, called me into her office on a Tuesday afternoon. "The board reviewed your Thompson project. Impressive doesn't begin to cover it." She slid a folder across her desk. "We're promoting you to senior financial analyst, 28% salary increase, $115,000 annually, corner office, your own team." First genuine smile I'd felt in months. I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep doing exactly what you're doing. You've shown remarkable focus during what I know has been a difficult personal period. That kind of professionalism is exactly what we want in leadership. The new office had windows on 2 walls, a view of downtown, enough space for a proper desk and meeting table. I hung Grandma Eleanor's watercolor painting of the house, the one she'd done 40 years ago when the gardens were young. Every morning arriving at this office I'd earned through skill and dedication reminded me my worth wasn't tied to who loved me or stayed with me. It was inherent, mine, unshakable. Home renovation projects became meditation. The gazebo where Colin proposed got rebuilt according to my vision, added a swing chair, created a reading nook with weatherproof cushions, strung different lights that didn't remind me of that night, planted 15 new varieties of heritage roses following notes in Grandma Eleanor's gardening journal, each one labeled with a small brass marker: Madame Alfred Carrière, Zéphirine Drouhin, Abraham Darby. Names that sounded like poetry. Afternoons spent digging in dirt, hands earth-stained, back aching from good work. These became the hours that healed me. 6 months passed. Spring pushed through winter's grip, covering the gardens in new growth. My phone rang one Saturday morning. Dad's number. I almost didn't answer. Finally picked up on the 5th ring. "Hello." "Rachel, sweetheart, can we talk?" His voice carried a heaviness I'd never heard before. "Your mother and we've been watching Madison, seeing patterns we should have noticed years ago. She's asked for money 7 times since she left your house, threatened to keep the baby away from us unless we paid for things. We see now what you were trying to tell us." I sat down on the porch steps, phone pressed to my ear. What changed? She pulled the same manipulation with us. She pulled with you, and we finally recognized it for what it was. We should have protected you, from Madison, from ourselves. We failed you, Rachel. I'm sorry. The apology I'd waited 32 years to hear. I appreciate you saying that, but I need time. We understand. We just wanted you to know. We see you now. We see what you've always been: strong, generous, forgiving far beyond what was fair. We took advantage of that. It won't happen again. We didn't rebuild our relationship overnight. Started with phone calls every few weeks. Progressed to meeting for lunch once a month at neutral locations. They asked about my life without mentioning Madison unless I brought her up first. Slowly, I set boundaries and watched them actually respect those lines. When Mom slipped once, started to suggest I should reach out to Madison for the sake of family, I stood up from the table. I told you this subject is off limits unless I initiate it. She backtracked immediately. You're right, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. It didn't. The relationship we built wasn't the same as before. It was smaller, more careful, built on mutual respect instead of assumed obligation, better in ways that mattered more than size. Through them, I learned about Madison's life in fragments. She'd moved in with Colin briefly. That arrangement imploded within weeks. Colin paid court-ordered child support, $2,200 monthly, but barely saw the baby. Madison complained constantly about money while refusing to work full-time. The baby, Lily Rose Morrison, was born in May, a spring baby, healthy, 8 pounds, 6 ounces. I bought a set of children's books, the ones Grandma Eleanor used to read to me. Sent them through my parents with a handwritten note. For Lily, may she know she's loved, may she never be used as a weapon, with hope for her future, Aunt Rachel. But I didn't visit, didn't ask for photos, didn't engage beyond that single gesture. Dr. Hayes nodded when I told her, you can care about a child's well-being and maintain boundaries with its parents. Those aren't contradictory positions. I don't want Lily to grow up thinking I abandoned her. You're not abandoning her. You're protecting yourself from people who demonstrated they'll hurt you given opportunity. When Lily's old enough to understand nuance, you can explain. Until then, your mental health comes first. 8 months after everything exploded, Sarah's cousin, Michelle, called. I know you've been through hell, but I have someone I'd like you to meet. No pressure, just coffee if you're interested. I almost said no, almost claimed I wasn't ready. Instead, I heard myself say, tell me about him. Martin Chen, architect, I know, ironic timing, but different firm than Colin, completely different person. Quiet, steady, divorced 3 years ago, has a 6-year-old daughter. He's careful with his heart because his ex-wife cheated with her boss, spent 2 years in therapy before even considering dating. So we both have trust issues. Michelle laughed. Basically, which might make you perfect for each other, or terrible. Only one way to find out. Bluestone Cafe, Wednesday at 7. I arrived early, ordered chamomile tea, picked a table near the window where I could see the street. Martin walked in exactly on time. 5'10", dark hair starting to gray at the temples, round frame glasses, warm brown eyes. Wore a navy sweater over a button-down shirt, jeans that looked like he'd actually thought about what to wear. He spotted me, smiled, genuine, reaching his eyes. Rachel. Martin, thanks for meeting me. We talked for 3 hours. He asked thoughtful questions about my work, my house, my interests, listened when I gave an abbreviated version of why I was newly single. My fiancé and my sister had an affair. It's recent. I'm still figuring out how to trust people again. He didn't flinch, didn't offer empty reassurances. My ex-wife left me for her supervisor. Took me a year to stop checking her phone records online. Another year before I stopped dreaming about confronting them. Healing isn't linear. How do you know when you're ready? I'm not sure you ever feel completely ready. You just reach a point where being alone feels worse than risking connection. We saw each other again the following week. Dinner at a quiet Italian place where we split a bottle of Chianti and talked about architecture, financial markets, books we'd loved, places we wanted to travel. Third date, Martin met Sarah for coffee while I was at work. Her vetting process. I like him. He's genuine. Little bit awkward, but in an endearing way. And he talks about his daughter with so much pride. That says something about a man. Fourth date, Martin brought his daughter Sophie to a family-friendly museum. 6 years old with pigtails and a gap-toothed smile, she held her father's hand and asked 1,000 questions about dinosaur bones. At one point, she turned to me very seriously. Do you like books? I really like books. I love books. What's your favorite? Where the Wild Things Are. Daddy reads it to me every night. Something warm unfurled in my chest. Not love, too soon for that word, but possibility, the shape of what could grow given time and care. Martin and I took everything slowly. 2 months before he came to my house, I needed the space to feel completely mine first, needed him to see it as my sanctuary, not a place shadowed by previous relationships. When he finally visited, he walked through with an architect's appreciation. Victorian Queen Anne, original woodwork. My God, Rachel, this is incredible. You've maintained it beautifully. My grandfather taught me, every room has a story. I showed him the gazebo, the gardens, the office I'd created from what should have been a nursery. He listened to each story without judgment, without comparing, just witnessing. 3 months in, he asked, "Are we dating exclusively, or should we have that conversation?" I'd like to be exclusive, if you're ready for that. I've been ready since our second coffee. We didn't rush toward anything. No talk of moving in together. No pressure about timelines. Just steady, reliable presence. Weekly dinners. Weekend walks through farmers markets. Occasional sleepovers that felt comfortable. Safe. He met my parents at month 4. Casual lunch where Mom managed not to ask invasive questions, and Dad actually seemed to approve of someone I was seeing. 1 year after the confrontation, I threw a party, called it New Beginnings, invited 30 people to the garden behind my house, Sarah and her wife, colleagues who'd become friends, a few family members who'd supported me throughout, Martin and Sophie, fairy lights strung through tree branches, different ones than Colin had used, purchased new, mine alone. Tables set with food I'd catered from the restaurant downtown, wine flowing, conversation warm, laughter genuine. When everyone had arrived, settled with drinks, I stood on the porch steps. Thank you all for being here. A year ago today, I sat at that dining table and learned my fiancé had been sleeping with my sister, that she'd planned for months to steal my life. People quieted, listening. That night, I lost almost everything I thought mattered. My relationship, my sister, my illusions about family. I paused, looked around at faces watching with warmth and support, but I found things worth infinitely more. Self-respect. I learned my value isn't determined by who stays or leaves. Boundaries. I learned to say no to people who hurt me, even family. Strength. I discovered I'm far more resilient than I imagined. And community. Every person here chose to stand with me when things were hardest. That's real family. Raised my glass to new beginnings, to chosen family, to knowing what we deserve and refusing to settle for less. The applause felt like absolution. Later, after guests had filtered home and twilight settled purple across the gardens, Sarah found me sitting in the gazebo. You proud of yourself? For the first time in my life, yes, actually proud. You should be. You fought for yourself when everyone told you not to. That takes courage most people never find. Martin appeared from the house carrying 2 glasses of wine, Sophie asleep on his shoulder. Mind if we join you? The 3 of us sat in comfortable silence, watching fireflies begin their evening dance across the lawn. My phone buzzed once. Text from Mom. Beautiful evening, sweetheart. Your grandmother would be so proud of the woman you've become. I looked up at the house silhouetted against darkening sky. 137 years of family history. 4,200 square feet of reclaimed sanctuary. $2.3 million of inheritance that represented so much more than money. It represented every choice I'd made to value myself, every boundary I'd set and defended, every moment I'd chosen my dignity over others' comfort. This house was never just property. It was the lesson Grandma Eleanor had been trying to teach me all along. Your worth doesn't come from who loves you. It comes from how fiercely you love yourself. I'd lost a fiancé, a sister, and the fantasy of uncomplicated family, but I'd found something far more valuable, myself. And that was the best choice I'd ever made. 10 months had passed since I reclaimed my life, and the cherry blossoms were blooming again, white and pink petals drifting across the garden like snow in reverse. I stood at the kitchen window watching them fall, coffee warming my hands, when my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. I almost let it go to voicemail. Something made me answer. Rachel Morrison, this is Jennifer Caldwell from Caldwell and Associates. I represent your sister Madison in a family law matter. My stomach dropped. What kind of matter? Ms. Morrison is petitioning for grandparent visitation rights on behalf of your parents, and she's requesting you be named as a potential guardian for Lily Rose Morrison should anything happen to her. She'd like to discuss this with you directly with legal mediation present. I decline. Silence on the other end, then. Ms. Morrison, your niece is now 11 months old. Don't you think? I think Madison spent months plotting to destroy my life, and now she wants to use her daughter as leverage for whatever her next scheme is. The answer is no. Send any legal documents to my attorney, Harold Bennett. Goodbye. I hung up before she could respond, but my hands shook as I set the phone down. Sarah came over that evening, brought Thai food we barely touched. She's not going to stop, is she? Madison never stops when she wants something, but she has no legal standing. I have no relationship with Lily, never agreed to guardianship, and my parents can petition for visitation themselves if they want. What does Harold say? That it's a manipulation tactic. Madison probably told Lily's pediatrician or daycare that I'm involved in the baby's life, and now there's some documentation requirement she can't fulfill. This is her trying to force contact. Sarah pushed rice around her plate. Are you okay? I'm tired. I spent a year building walls to protect myself, and she keeps testing them for weak points. But the walls held. Harold sent a formal response declining all requests. Madison's lawyer tried twice more, each time met with the same answer. Eventually, the communication stopped. Spring bled into summer. The gardens exploded with color, roses climbing trellises, lavender humming with bees, tomatoes ripening on vines I'd planted in the vegetable patch Grandpa used to tend. Martin started staying over more frequently, his presence gradually woven into the house's rhythms, his coffee mug beside mine on the counter, Sophie's drawings held to the refrigerator with magnets, a toothbrush in the bathroom that wasn't mine. One Saturday morning, Sophie sat cross-legged on the living room floor with a picture book while Martin and I made pancakes. Rachel, do you think my daddy likes you? Martin nearly dropped the spatula. I hid my smile behind the orange juice carton. I think your daddy and I like each other very much. What do you think about that? She considered this seriously, head tilted. I think it's good. You make him smile a lot. And you have a really big house with a garden. Can I pick tomatoes later? Absolutely. Martin caught my eye over her head, warmth and question in his expression. Too soon to name what was growing between us, but it felt solid, real, built on honesty instead of illusion. Work consumed most of my weekday hours. The promotion came with challenges I'd expected, and some I hadn't, team members resistant to a woman's leadership, clients who asked for my male colleagues by name, the constant low-grade battle to prove competence that men never faced. But I'd fought bigger battles. This was just noise. By August, my team had increased client retention by 33%. Janet called me into her office again, this time with the regional director present. Rachel, we're expanding into the Denver market. We need someone to oversee the new office setup, train local hires, establish client relationships. 4-month assignment starting October. Are you interested? 4 months away from home. From Martin. From the life I'd carefully reconstructed. Can I think about it? Of course, but this is a significant career opportunity. Next step after this is VP track. That evening, I told Martin over wine on the back porch while Sophie played with fireflies. It's what I've worked toward my whole career, but it means being gone September through December. He was quiet for a long moment. 4 months is a long time. It is. But it's your dream. I'd never ask you to choose between career and relationship. That's not fair. I watched Sophie chase light through the dimming garden. What do you want? I want you to take the opportunity. I want us to figure out how to make distance work for a few months. I want to be the kind of partner who celebrates your success instead of limiting it. Something tight in my chest loosened. You're sure? I'm sure about you. The rest we'll navigate. I accepted the Denver position 2 days later. September arrived with falling leaves and preparation chaos. I rented a furnished apartment near the new office, packed strategic clothing arranged for a house sitter to manage the Victorian while I was gone. The night before I left, Martin stayed over. We sat in the gazebo under stars, his arm around my shoulders. 4 months isn't forever. It feels long from here. We'll video chat. I'll visit for Thanksgiving. You'll be back for Christmas. And then you'll be VP track, which is exactly where you belong. Sophie had drawn me a picture. Stick figures labeled Rachel, Daddy, and Sophie standing in front of a house with a too large sun overhead. I'd tucked it into my suitcase, a talisman against loneliness. Denver was mountains and dry air, and an office that smelled like fresh paint. The local team viewed me with suspicion at first, another corporate transplant telling them how to do their jobs. I didn't push, just worked alongside them, learned the regional market, demonstrated competence through action instead of authority. By October, resistance had shifted to respect. By November, we were functioning as an actual team. Martin visited for Thanksgiving weekend. We explored Morrison Park, no relation, but it made us laugh, and ate overpriced turkey at a restaurant that tried too hard. Video chatted with Sophie, who showed us her missing tooth with immense pride. In the hotel room afterward, Martin traced patterns on my shoulder. I miss you. I miss you too. Only one more month. Then what? You come back or they offer you permanent Denver placement? I come back. Denver's beautiful, but it's not home. He kissed my forehead. Good, because home misses you. December 20th, I flew back to a city blanketed in early snow. Martin picked me up from the airport, Sophie jumping up and down in the back seat. You're back! You're back! Can we make cookies at your house? The Victorian looked like a snow globe when we pulled up. White coating the turret, icicles hanging from the eaves, smoke curling from the chimney where the house sitter must have started a fire. Stepping inside felt like exhaling after holding my breath for months. Everything exactly where it belonged, waiting. We made cookies, decorated them with frosting that ended up more on Sophie than the gingerbread. Sat by the fireplace while she fell asleep between us, sticky-fingered and content. I have something to tell you, Martin's voice low so he wouldn't wake her. My heart skipped. Okay. Sophie's been asking when you're going to be her second mom. I told her relationships move slowly, people need time. But she said, and I quote, I already decided. Rachel's nice and she has a garden and she doesn't make you sad like mommy did. Tears stung my eyes. Martin, I'm not proposing. Too soon for that, we both know it. But I'm saying I'm all in, with you, with building something real, however long it takes, whatever shape it needs to have. I'm choosing you. I kissed him then, careful not to jostle Sophie. I'm choosing you too. January brought news I didn't expect. Mom called on a Tuesday evening, voice strained. Rachel, honey, I need to tell you something about Madison. She's in the hospital. Everything stopped. What happened? Postpartum depression, severe. She's been struggling since Lily was born, but she hid it from everyone. Last week, she scared us, Rachel. Said things that made us think she might hurt herself. We got her admitted to a psychiatric facility. She'll be there at least 30 days. My complicated feelings about Madison didn't erase the punch of hearing she was suffering. Is she safe now? Yes, she's getting help, but Lily needs temporary care. Your father and I are taking her, but we're not young. We wondered if you'd be willing to be an emergency backup, just in case something happens and we can't manage. Every instinct screamed to refuse, to protect the boundaries I'd fought so hard to build, but a baby didn't choose her mother's actions. Lily was innocent in all of this. I'll be emergency backup only. Not primary care, not regular visitation, just if there's genuine crisis and you can't handle it. That's all we're asking. Thank you, sweetheart. I told Martin that night, pacing my bedroom while he sat on the edge of the bed. Am I crazy for agreeing? No, you're drawing clear boundaries while leaving room for compassion. That's healthy. What if Madison tries to use this as an opening? What if she sees any involvement as permission to push back into my life? He stood, took my hands. Then you enforce boundaries again. You've done it before. You can do it again. February came and went without crisis. Madison remained hospitalized, then moved to an intensive outpatient program. I didn't visit, didn't call, sent one card through my parents, wishing you healing and peace. R. Mom reported back. She cried when she read it, asked if you'd ever forgive her. I don't know. Some days I think maybe, eventually. Most days I remember the journal and know that kind of calculated cruelty isn't something I can forget. That's fair, honey. Whatever you decide, we support you. March 20th marked 18 months since the confrontation. I'd stopped counting days somewhere around month 6, but the anniversary felt significant anyway. I spent it alone in the house, walking from room to room, remembering the dining room where Madison made her announcement, the gazebo where Colin proposed, the guest room where she'd plotted my destruction, the master bedroom I'd reclaimed and rebuilt. Everywhere I looked, I saw evidence of my resilience. The gardens I'd expanded, the office I'd created, the life I'd constructed from the ruins of what I'd lost. My phone buzzed, text from Sarah. Thinking of you today, proud of how far you've come. Then Martin, you're the strongest person I know, lucky to be loved by you. Then Janet, Denver numbers came in outstanding. Let's talk VP timeline Monday. Then Mom, your father and I love you, grateful every day for your strength and grace. I stood in the center of the living room, phone in hand, tears streaming down my face. Not sad tears, not happy tears exactly, something more complex. Grief and gratitude tangled together, mourning and celebration occupying the same space. I'd lost so much, I'd gained even more. April brought unexpected closure. Colin sent a letter, actual handwritten letter, not email or text. Rachel, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect forgiveness or response, but I need you to know I'm in therapy, working on understanding why I made choices that destroyed the best relationship of my life. My therapist helped me see I was repeating my father's patterns. He had an affair when I was 12, destroyed our family, and I swore I'd never be like him. Then I became exactly like him. The work I'm doing now is about breaking that cycle. Not for you, I know we're done. For myself. For any future relationships. So I don't keep hurting people I claim to love. I hope you're happy. You deserve happiness more than anyone I've ever known. Colin. I read it twice, then filed it in a drawer without responding. He wanted absolution I couldn't give. Maybe someday I'd feel differently. Today wasn't that day. May arrived with Lily's first birthday. Mom sent photos, a little girl with Madison's dark curls and eyes that might have been Colin's blue. Cake smeared on her face, hands reaching for balloons, pure joy untouched by adult complications. I sent a birthday gift through my parents, a set of wooden blocks Grandpa William had made for me when I was small. They'd survived 3 decades in storage. Now they could bring joy to another generation. Mom called the next day. Madison asked if the blocks were from you. When I said yes, she started crying, asked me to tell you thank you, and that she's sorry for everything. Is she getting better? Some days yes, some days no. Mental health isn't linear, but she's trying. I didn't know what to do with that information. Didn't know if I wanted Madison to heal for her sake, or worried that her recovery might mean new attempts to contact me. Both could be true simultaneously. June brought a surprise party for my 33rd birthday. Sarah orchestrated it, filled my garden with people who'd walked beside me through fire, colleagues who'd covered my workload during crisis, friends who'd sat with me through crying jags, family members who'd chosen my side when it cost them relationships with others. Martin presented a gift wrapped in silver paper, inside a key on a simple ring. It's to my place. Sophie and I talked about it. We'd like you to have it. Use it whenever you want. Stay over more. Let yourself belong in our space the way we belong in yours. Sophie nodded vigorously, and I cleaned out the drawer by my bed so you can put your stuff there. I knelt down to her level. Thank you. That's very generous. She wrapped small arms around my neck. You're basically my bonus mom already. Might as well have a drawer. Bonus mom. The phrase settled warm and right. July brought the VP announcement. I'd known it was coming, had prepared for the responsibility and visibility. What I hadn't prepared for was how it felt to achieve something I'd worked toward for a decade. Janet handed me the official offer in her office, sunlight streaming through windows behind her desk. Vice President of Client Relations, Western Region, $168,000 annually, team of 12. This is well-deserved, Rachel. I signed the contract with hands that had stopped shaking sometime in the past 18 months. Steady now, sure. The house threw a celebration that evening. Not a party exactly, just the people who mattered most. Sarah brought champagne. Martin and Sophie brought flowers from their garden. Mom and Dad drove up, brought the old family photo albums to remind me how far I'd come. We sat around the dining table where Madison had once tried to take everything. Now it held laughter and toasts and people who'd chosen to love me without conditions. Dad raised his glass to Rachel, who taught us all what real strength looks like. August marked 2 years. I woke that morning to text messages, some checking in, some celebrating, some just saying they were thinking of me. Nothing from Madison, nothing from Colin. Both had learned boundaries meant silence unless I initiated contact. I spent the day working in the garden, hands deep in soil, sweat dampening my shirt, planted new roses, peace, Queen Elizabeth, double delight, each one a small act of faith that beautiful things could still grow. Martin found me at sunset, dirt under my fingernails. How are you doing? Good. Really good, actually. 2 years ago, I thought my life was ending. Turns out it was just beginning. He kissed the top of my head. Sophie wants to know if you'll come to her piano recital next week. She's playing a piece she dedicated to you.
What's it called?
The Garden Song. She said it reminds her of your backyard.
Tears again, the good kind that came from being seen and loved. I'll be there. The recital was in an elementary school auditorium that smelled like floor wax and old books. Sophie wore a blue dress, hair in careful braids, serious concentration on her 7-year-old face agitated as she played. The piece was simple, sweet, full of the kind of hope only children could convey without irony. When she finished, she found me in the audience and waved. I waved back, heart so full it hurt. September brought unexpected news. Harold called on a Thursday afternoon. Rachel, I received a letter from Madison's attorney. She's officially dropping any requests for your involvement with Lily. She's also written you a personal letter that she's asked me to forward. You're under no obligation to read it.
Send it. The letter arrived 3 days later. Thick envelope, Madison's handwriting on the outside. For Rachel, read only if you want to. I sat with it for 2 days before opening. Rachel, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect you to read this or respond. I'm writing because my therapist says I need to take accountability without expecting anything in return. Here's what I want you to know. Everything you thought about me was right. I planned to steal your life. I felt entitled to what you had because mom and dad gave you more love, more attention, more value. I grew up believing I deserved what you earned. That's not your fault. That's mine. I've spent 2 years in intensive therapy, understanding how I became someone who could hurt people I supposedly loved. The truth is, I was jealous of you my entire life. You were smart, capable, self-sufficient. I was the messy one who needed rescuing. Instead of working on myself, I tried to take from you. I'm sorry. Not sorry because I want forgiveness or relationship. Sorry because what I did was wrong, cruel, calculated. You deserved better from family. I've asked mom and dad not to mention me to you unless you ask.
I've instructed my lawyer to stop all contact attempts. I'm raising Lily with help from parents and therapy. I'm working on being someone she can be proud of. I hope you're happy. I hope you found peace. I hope someday you can think about me without anger. But even if you can't, I understand. What I did is unforgivable. Be well, Rachel. Madison. I read it 3 times, cried through the second reading. By the third, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness exactly, but the beginning of releasing poison I'd carried. I didn't respond. Didn't need to. The letter was about Madison's healing, not mine. She'd finally taken responsibility without demanding absolution. That was enough. October brought planning for the future. Martin and I sat in the gazebo one cool evening, blankets wrapped around our shoulders. Sophie starts 3rd grade next year. My lease is up in January. I've been thinking about what comes next. My heart picked up speed. What have you been thinking?
That I love you. That Sophie loves you. That we've built something real over 2 years. That maybe it's time to talk about building it intentionally. Are you asking to move in?
He smiled. I'm saying I want a future with you, whatever shape that takes. If you want us here, we'd love to be here. If you need more time, we'll wait. If you want to sell this place and buy something together, we'll do that. I'm flexible on details, just not flexible on you. I kissed him as the first stars appeared. I want you here, both of you. This house is big enough for a family. It's supposed to hold a family. You're sure?
I've never been more sure of anything.
We told Sophie over ice cream the next day. She shrieked so loud the entire shop turned to stare. We're moving to the garden house? For real? For real. You'll have your own room. You can help plant vegetables next spring. She threw her arms around both of us. This is the best day of my whole life.
November brought boxes and coordination and the beautiful chaos of combining households. Martin's furniture blended with mine. Some things kept, some donated, some stored. Sophie chose the bedroom at the end of the hall, windows overlooking the garden.
We painted it lavender at her request, hung white curtains, assembled the bed frame together while she supervised with intense concentration. Move-in day, she stood in the center of her new room and spun in circles. It's perfect. Everything's perfect. December arrived with snow and plans for our first Christmas as a blended family. Sophie helped me decorate. Lights on the porch, wreaths on doors, a tree in the living room that reached nearly to the ceiling. Christmas Eve, We hosted my parents, Sarah and her wife, a few close friends, the house filled with warmth and noise, and the smell of roasting turkey. After dinner, while others talked in the living room, I stood in the kitchen doing dishes. Mom joined me, picked up a towel to dry. This house sounds like it did when you were little, full of life. It feels right. Grandma and Grandpa would be happy to see it like this. She squeezed my shoulder. They'd be proud of you. The way you fought for yourself, the way you rebuilt, the way you're letting yourself love again.
I'm proud of me too. That's new.
It's deserved. Christmas morning, Sophie woke everyone at 6 a.m., dragging us downstairs to presents piled under the tree. We opened gifts in pajamas while coffee brewed and snow fell outside. Martin gave me a small box wrapped in gold paper. Inside, a delicate necklace, golden pendant shaped like a house, so you always carry home with you.
I fastened it around my neck. It's perfect.
We spent the day cooking together, playing board games, watching Sophie's favorite movies. Simple. Easy. Exactly what I'd fought so hard to create. That evening, after Sophie fell asleep and Martin dozed on the couch, I stepped outside into the cold, walked to the gazebo, brushed snow off the bench, sat in the darkness, looked back at the house, every window glowing warm, smoke curling from the chimney, lights twinkling on the porch, 137 years of family history, mine to protect, mine to fill with new memories. 2 years ago, I'd sat in the same spot and watched my world collapse. Tonight, I sat here and saw clearly what I'd built from the rubble. A life on my terms, love without manipulation, family chosen through loyalty instead of assigned through blood, work that challenged and fulfilled me, a home that was sanctuary, not battlefield. I'd lost a fiancé who didn't deserve me, a sister who saw me as competition instead of ally, the illusion that family would always choose me. But I'd found myself, and that was worth every painful step it took to get here. The back door opened. Martin stood silhouetted against the light. You okay out here?
Yeah, just thinking.
He crossed the snowy garden, sat beside me on the bench. About how loss and gain aren't opposites, about how sometimes you have to let everything fall apart before you can build something better, about how the worst thing that ever happened to me led me here. He pulled me close, his warmth cutting the cold. Regret anything? Not one thing. Not kicking them out, not setting boundaries, not choosing myself. It hurt, but it was right. We sat in comfortable silence, watching snow fall across gardens that would bloom again come spring. Tomorrow, I'd wake up in a house that was mine, next to a man who celebrated my strength instead of fearing it, with a child who'd chosen to love me without obligation. Tomorrow, I'd go to work as Vice President of Client Relations, title earned through skill, not given through sympathy.
Tomorrow, I'd live the life I'd fought to create. But tonight, I simply breathed in cold air and let gratitude fill every corner of my chest.
People always ask if I forgive Madison, if I've made peace with what she did, if I wish things had ended differently. The answer is complicated. I've released the anger because carrying it was poisoning me more than her. But forgiveness? That's not something I owe her or need to give for my own healing. What happened happened. She showed me exactly who she was. I chose to believe the evidence instead of the excuses.
And in doing so, I learned the most important lesson of my life. You can't save people who don't want saving. You can't love people into being who you need them to be. You can't sacrifice yourself into wholeness. The only person you can truly save is yourself. And sometimes, saving yourself means letting everyone else go. My grandmother used to tell me, don't let anyone make you small in your own life. Stand tall, know your worth. It took me 32 years and complete devastation to understand what she meant. This house, $2.3 million, 137 years of history, inherited through love and maintained through determination, was never just real estate. It was a lesson wrapped in brick and wood and memory. Your value doesn't come from who loves you. It comes from how fiercely you protect the truth of who you are. I lost everything I thought I needed. I found the one thing that mattered. Myself. And that made all the difference.